They say there's 3 versions of a film: the one you write, the one you film, and the one you edit. However, in the case of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four, there's at least 4 versions of the movie. The one that was written, the one that was filmed, the one that was heavily reshot, and finally the one that was edited. The behind-the-scenes drama and story of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four is pretty well known at this point. It was a project that went through countless dramatic changes over the course of its development, with Trank clashing with the studio and writers when it came to the overall vision of the movie, resulting in the messy film we ended up getting. However, in this video, let's attempt to piece together the many strands of this movie to see just how much it changed over time. We can start by discussing the original scripts for the movie that were being developed in 2012, specifically by writer Jeremy Slater, whose ideas shaped the film's general plot structure. According to Slater himself, his version of Fantastic Four had much more humor, heart, and spectacle when compared to the final film. In fact, Jeremy Slater was a big fan of the Fantastic Four comics, so many elements of the mythos were embraced. Slater wrote almost 18 drafts of the movie. It's impossible to know what happens in each version, but we do have a good idea of the story of at least 2 of them. The film would begin with Reed and Ben working on a teleportation device, much like the movie, allowing Reed to gain a scholarship to the Baxter Foundation, which is described as Hogwarts for science nerds. Here, Reed meets Victor Von Doom, who quickly befriends Reed, which unfortunately causes Reed to grow distant from Ben. Victor serves as a sort of mentor figure for Reed, teaching him how to bend the rules of science. Together, they manage to build a device that rips a hole through reality, connecting them to another world. With help from Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and his friend Ben, Reed and 3 others enter the negative zone, and here is where the plot begins to diverge. In one script, when they enter the negative zone, they encounter the remnants of an ancient civilization with bodies strewn about. As they explore the ruins, they come across what appears to be a gigantic humanoid figure, Galactus, who chases after them, firing dark matter energy. Reed and Ben manage to escape, but Victor appears to be killed. When Ben and Reed escape back to the Baxter building, an explosion of dark matter takes place, affecting Sue and Johnny Storm. Johnny appears to be on fire, while Sue's body phases in and out, allowing us to see the many layers of her anatomy. In a separate script, when they enter the negative zone, instead of encountering Galactus, the team find Annihilus instead, who is described as a pissed-off cybernetic T-Rex. Although based on concept art, this design did change over time, taking on various forms like a Lovecraftian creature. Similar to the other script, Victor Von Doom seemingly gets killed, and the rest of the team escape to their teleporter but get hit by radiation from Annihilus, infecting them, but also Sue and Johnny Storm. In the script, after the accident, the team decide to split up. Sue Storm comes to work for the Baxter building on a strange project evolving moloids. Johnny Storm becomes a reality TV star. Ben becomes a weapon for the US military. Finally, Reed Richards is in hiding, living out his days in countries like Jakarta. In isolation, Reed begins developing various gadgets and tools, like a robot companion named Herbie. He's quite different in this universe, with Jeremy Slater describing him as a round ball-like robot who's very similar to BB-8. Thankfully, concept art exists of what this Herbie could have looked like, and as you can see, it's a roughly put-together robot balancing on a soccer ball. Another element present in Jeremy Slater's script was the Fantasticar, a flying vehicle built by Reed Richards using various parts he could find. The Fantasticar also has several concept arts depicting what it could have looked like. In the script, scientists from Latveria who were fed information about Reed's teleporter from Victor would recreate the portal device, making their way into the negative zone. Here, they'd encounter Victor Von Doom, who possesses new and strange powers. Now, the reasoning for Victor's survival in the negative zone depends on the version of the script. In one version, Galactus keeps Victor alive in order to turn him into his herald to find worlds to consume. Von Doom plots to kill Galactus once he comes to Earth by building an antimatter cannon. In another script, Von Doom manages to kill Annihilus using his powers to form a new bodysuit. While Reed is on the run, he suddenly gets attacked by Latverian soldiers armed with advanced weaponry. Reed deduces that Victor is still alive and, using the Fantastic Car, rushes to the Baxter building, which is being attacked by a group of mercenaries. Even worse, a character named Harvey Elder gets covered in mole juice and transforms into the Mole Man, sending a giant moloid creature mutated by dark matter to attack New York. The Fantastic Four then come together to face off against this creature. The final act involves Doom declaring war on the world, causing the Fantastic Four to make their way to a war-torn Latveria, facing off against an army of Doombots. We then discover that Doom wasn't actually on Earth. The Doom we saw was simply a type of robot, and Doom was still tied to the negative zone, becoming one with it. In fact, several pieces of concept art show Victor using his telekinetic powers to recreate Latveria within the negative zone. The Fantastic Four, in the end, retooled the Baxter building as a school, hoping to raise the next generation of geniuses in preparation for the Silver Surfer and Galactus.
I love the Fantastic Four. I loved the Fantastic Four when I was a kid, because to me they were like the most realistic characters that I could identify with. They were always fighting with each other, and it wasn't really so much about characters fighting supervillains as much as they were just fighting each other's their personalities were fighting against each other, trying to figure out how to do something the right way and together as a team.
Josh Trank had a very particular vision for Fantastic Four. Similar to his previous work Chronicle, Trank envisioned the Fantastic Four within a more grounded and gritty world, taking these fantastical characters and asking the question, what would happen if these characters existed in the real world? What kind of emotional toll would these powers have on these people?
They're gonna send me on a project.
Like Ben?
We should use these powers to do something.
They're not powers. They're aggressively abnormal physical conditions that we're gonna fix. Can you turn that off?
And what if they can't? What if it takes more time to get it right? We could be talking years.
I am not going to be a tool.
Taking influence from stories like David Cronenberg's The Fly, which had an emphasis on body horror, the Fantastic Four's powers wouldn't be something to celebrate. Instead, it would be this traumatizing and horrific experience, an affliction or disability that would take a huge mental toll on the characters. This is shown in the conceptual artwork where the horror of these powers is demonstrated, such as the Thing being this giant blob of stone, as their intention was that the Thing was hindered by the amount of stone on his body, causing him to be impaired in his movement, requiring characters to literally carve away at him. Sue Storm's invisibility allowed people to see her skeletal and muscle formations within, looking like a living ghost. Johnny Storm appeared like a burn victim, with his body charred and burnt from his flame form. Mr. Fantastic has to wear a specialized suit that holds his limbs together so he wouldn't fall apart. Ultimately, Trank's vision explored the idea of heroes afflicted with supernatural-like disabilities, learning to live with them and gaining strength by accepting who they are. However, because of this vision of making the Fantastic Four these tragic but grounded figures, the more traditional tropes of a superhero story did not cut it, like the bright visuals and colorful spandex. This is why Trank clashed with the more comic booky elements of Jeremy Slater's script and arranged for aspects of the movie to be rewritten. With this, Trank began filming his Fantastic Four movie, a production that was famously troubled, with Trank coming into conflict with his own cast, but also Fox, who didn't like many of the ideas he had. In fact, the final cut of the movie was said to be too dark for the studio's liking, who scheduled a series of reshoots and massive amounts of editing to salvage what they could from the production. These reshoots and re-edits is what led to material like the Fantastic Car being cut from production, as according to behind-the-scenes material, the vehicle was indeed in the film. There was a scene where Johnny Storm uses his power in a dark hallway, which was cut, alongside a scene where the Thing drops into enemy territory and wipes them out. This scene is only present in marketing material and some unfinished behind-the-scenes shots. There was also shots where Planet Zero is more red in color, which was changed to green in the final movie. A shot of Johnny Storm lying wounded on the floor after facing off against Dr. Doom, delivering the final blow on him, and a scene where Sue and Johnny destroy Doom's obliques together. Ultimately, Josh Trank had little to no say with these reshoots, making his disappointment clear in a now deleted tweet. "I can't say for sure if this original cut was any better than what we got. Trank had noble intentions when it came to developing these characters. However, I do think perhaps the idea strayed a bit too far from what made the Fantastic Four special to begin with."